Good to go? Okay, missing the procedure. I'm preoccupied. Give me 1 second. Let me see what I do with that. We will call to order the Town Council Budget Workshop for July 11th, 2023. Can all rise for a moment. Silence. Today, we will have a moment of silence for Jonathan Schumann, who was 76 years old, and one who's very close to me for a very long time, was very beneficial to me throughout my time on council. Miss Helen Brunson unfortunately passed on the 25th of June. She was 98 years old. She was a few months shy of 99. Mrs. Brunson lived here since 1966. She was a very good woman, very supportive of the town of Lake Clark Shores in the early going. As she made it through her years, she wasn't able to be involved as much. But during my comments in council, I will tell you a few things about Mrs. Brunson. May perpetual light shine upon them. Father Peter?
You all changed things up here since I was here last.
We do that to keep you on your toes, Father.
Let us pray. Oh, Heavenly Father, as we take this brief moment to come to Thee in prayer, we do so in gratitude. We thank You for being a God of love who is present with us now. We thank You for making each of us in this room and every resident of this town and community in Thine own image and likeness. We thank Thee for giving us the ability to be good stewards of this town. May we love our neighbors as ourselves. We pray that we would have the eyes to see how our lives are all connected and see how important it is to work together for the common good of our community. Bless our town council, the staff, and all who work for this town. Grant them, O Lord, wisdom, strength, and courage to do what is right and good for all its citizens. This we ask in Thy name. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Father Peter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Mary, roll call, please.
Mayor Gregory Freebold.
Here.
Vice Mayor Robert Shalhoub.
Here.
President Pro Tem Valteen Rodriguez.
Here.
Councilmember Robert Gonzalez.
Present.
Councilmember John Maples.
Here. Okay, thank you. We will have the presentation of proposed 2023-2024 town budget. Mr. Lobello, you have the floor.
Thank you. Tonight, we're going to go over our proposed budget. It's our first draft. That's why it's called proposed. It's changed already since this has been printed, and it will change again. It morphs into a tentative budget late in August, and then it goes into a final budget late in September. So I'm going to focus more things on a micro level instead of a macro level instead of a micro level. So I prepared a budget message. So everybody should have that in front of them. And the first page is a list of officials. On the second page is very important. It's our budget calendar. And when we get to our normal meeting, which is this is a workshop, so nothing will be approved on this workshop. But when we get to our regular budget, or our regular agenda, actually, we're going to approve our proposed millage rate and our dates of our public hearing. So the two dates we like to look at for a public hearing is our normal meeting, which is on the second meeting of September on the 12th, which is a Tuesday. Then we're going to have another meeting on the 27th, which is a Wednesday. So everybody should have that on their calendar. That's the second meeting is on a Wednesday. You can't conflict with a county or a school board meeting. So that's why we have to pick another date. We're getting into the budget. The proposed budget is balanced at this time. It's 11% of an increase from last year. And let me explain why. It's presented as a general fund budget of $5,488,106. It's 11% over last year's budget as stated of $555,000. But what we have in this budget that's proposed that's different from last year is an extra $300,000 on the revenue and on the expense side for a contingency line item. The contingency line item is just a paper thing. If we need to take money from reserves for unexpected or unforeseen issues, which I'll go over, but basically it's not a tax increase. It has nothing to do with taxes. It's just for anything that may come up during the year that we need. Let me give you 2 examples. If we have one of our big projects is the Pine Tree Bridge. If that comes in over budget when we go out to bid in a few weeks, if it comes in at 1.4 million instead of 1.2 million, how are we going to fund that difference? We legally cannot overexpend our budget. So we need to have somewhere to get the money from reserves. That's like our savings account. It's called fund balance, but I'll just call it reserves. And it's like our savings account. So we can take that money and fund any projects that we need to that are over budget. Unfortunately, a lot of projects that are going on right now are going over budget because of the economy. Second thing that can happen next month is we can have an emergency. We can have a storm. We can have a hurricane. We can have $300,000 in debris management. Waste management is not responsible for picking up your garbage or your waste in an event like that. We have contracts in place with waste haulers to collect that. Even though we might get reimbursed from the federal government at a percentage, sometimes 75, sometimes 95%, we still have to incur that loss and we still cannot overspend the budget. So I think it's a good budget practice to have a contingency. I've always worked with the contingency. Again, we may never use it. We might not use it for years, but it's good to have it both on the revenue and the expense side, just in case we need it. The money is there. We can take it from reserves. So that's a big change in the budget. As I stated, its budget, it's actually balanced. It actually has $41,000 in surplus funds right now. A lot of things will change in the next couple of months, but right now we have surplus funds over what's in the budget. And let me tell you what we're looking at on a macro level about the budget highlights. We're proposing, like I said, the same rate as last year, which is 6.2798, which is 9.23% over the rollback rate. The rollback rate is 5.7490. And this rate right now, what we're going to approve in the regular agenda is the maximum that you can levy. So in September, when we have all these numbers finalized, the council can lower that rate or they can fund other projects. But right now you'll see that there's a lot of numbers that are not secure or not fully materialized yet. So we need to put in the worst case scenario, and then we'll have that discussion in September if you want to lower the millage rate or fund another project. So the easy thing going down the list is operating personnel, capital. Personnel is probably one of the easiest thing to do in this town because we're not looking at any staff increases or any staff changes. We're putting in a 5% across the board merit increase, but that's an average 5%. So somebody can get 2% and somebody can get 6%. It's based on merit. So it's based on performance evaluations. So we want to establish that you don't normally get across the board increases. You have to fill out a performance evaluation. You have to earn your merit. Benefits real easy because they're all fixed. On the pension side, there's a fixed pension. It's called a defined contribution because we're defining the contribution we're going to give to you. We're not defining a defined benefit, which means you're defining what you're going to get when you retire. That's what a lot of other cities have. We don't have that here. We have a defined contribution. It's like a 401k plan in the regular world, but we're defining what we're going to give you every year. So market risk is up to you. If you have a defined benefit plan, when you have the market, you define what you're going to get when you retire. The market risk is with you. The fluctuations in the market, you have to pay for. Health insurance, same thing, very fixed. We actually had a slight decrease in health insurance, but we pay $900 a month per person. So if rates go up and down, it's the same $900. Again, personnel is very easy to forecast. Operating, there's good and the bad, and some actually not good. You guys signed a very good contract with Waste Management 3 years ago, pre-COVID, a 7-year contract. Very smart of you all to do that because hauling costs have gone up, doubled over post the pandemic. So basically, that contract is gold right now because it's only going up 3%. Other cities have experienced 100% increases. So you did a real good job of signing a long-term contract with Waste Management. What we do is right now the town pays for all of residential, commercial, all of residential pickup. So basically, it's all in our budget. A lot of cities do not do that. It's on your tax bill as a non-ad valorem assessment, or it's basically in your water bill or some other collection. The town pays for your garbage fees. So that's a good thing. But it only goes up 3%. 3 or 4 years from now, we might have to realign that number. It might double. But right now, it's a really good contract. It benefits the town. So let's get into some of the bad news. Health insurance, some people are calling, not health insurance, property insurance, some people are calling this a crisis out there. With property insurance, it's, as you can see, your property, if you own a property, it's going up, it's doubling. We hear it's actually worse for the municipalities because we have police liability, we have sidewalks, there's not a lot of insurance companies that want to take on the risk of a city. Give you an example, there's people getting out of the market in Florida. Just I read today, believe it or not, that we are farmers, you've heard the commercial, right? They're backing out of Florida. So I read that today. The market is, I don't want to call it a crisis. Even the legislature got involved. They had a special session in December and they did 3 things to help out. One is that you cannot hire a third party to do your claim. They put a fund in to help for emergencies, like what happened in last year's storms. And the third thing they put in, you got to file a claim within 2 years instead of 3 years. So those are the 3 things the legislature did to try to stop this. People are calling it a crisis, but it really is affecting us. We put in only 30% of an increase. We hope it's enough, but we're asking for other people to provide us quotes. We don't know where that number is going to be. So that's the most concerning on operating. On capital items, we have a lot of robust items here that we're looking at and a lot of programs. Just to go over real briefly, I'm not going to go over the small ones, looking at things at a macro level again. We have the Pine Tree Lane Bridge. We're very close to going out to bid on that. We're waiting on one document from the state, or it's the Florida Department of Transportation, FDOT, and we should go out to bid on that in a few weeks. That's 1.2 million. The council, again, you did a great job, council and staff. You got $600,000 from the state in appropriations for that, free money from the state to do that project. Great job. We also took a loan out for $600,000, so we have $1.2 million for that project. Hopefully we'll come in at that number. We'll see. We're involved with the traffic calming study and improvements. We're actually collecting data right now. It's very early in that study. We're going to have a vacation rental ordinance that we're proposing in our next agenda. We have a phase 2 of Lawrence Road. These are now utility projects. We have a Lawrence Road widening project at 1.2 million. We're looking for grants for that. We have a Seminole Manor sewer force main replacement. We're looking for grants for that and block grant money. We also have an unfunded or partially unfunded mandate by the federal government. Just to tell you what they're doing, the good and the bad of this. The good is they're asking for us and every municipality that has or every county that has a utility to physically look at your pipes to make sure they're not, and this is going on throughout the whole country, to make sure they're not lead pipes. So we have to physically go in the ground and make sure, even on the residential side and on the town side, to make sure that those pipes are not lead. So we call that an unfunded mandate. We applied for a grant. Good news, we got notice today. We think we secured a grant. So we got about a $70,000 grant. We hope it'll come in at $150,000, so it's a 50-50 grant. What's concerning to me is supply and demand, what I've been talking about. If everybody has to do this inspection by 2024, just imagine the vendors that are doing that. You should get in the lead inspection business right now because it's going to be hot. Other projects we got going on is upgrading security cameras, other small things, electrical system at Memorial Park. We're going to upgrade our main backup to our computer system, pickleball improvements and lighting. Pickleball is going quite good if you haven't been out there. And these are just the major projects. Don't want to go over the small projects. Then I give you a little future outlook of what we're looking at. I'm not trying to predict the market or talk about, but I just wanted to tell you what we're experiencing with the economy. As you all know, post-pandemic, there was supply chain issues. Nobody was working. All the factories were backlogged, chips, lumber. You all know there's a backlog of everything. Also, there was that pent up demand of people staying at their houses for 2 years. So they got out, they wanted a vacation, they wanted to spend money, they wanted to buy cars, they wanted to do all that. And then the government that didn't want to go into a recession or a deep recession or a depression, what did they do? They threw money at us called stimulus. So all of this was happening at one time. What happened? We had hyperinflation. That's what we're experiencing right now is hyperinflation. So what does the federal government did? We call it the Federal Reserve. They control short-term rates. So what they can do is to shut down and try to slow down the economy by raising short-term rates. What they've done is unprecedented. Since last March, they've raised rates 5%. You've read in the paper and read in the news that 75 basis points, 75 basis points. All that added up to 5% in a year and 3 months. So it's amazing the increase. If you want a mortgage right now, it's 7 to 8%. A year and 3 months ago, it was 2 to 3%. So even though they're affecting short-term rates, it actually bleeds into long-term rates. If you want to lease a car, you want to buy a car on a mortgage, a car loan, very expensive. Everything's a lot more expensive. They're doing this on purpose to try to slow down the economy and for us to have less inflation. Now, what can happen? They can get it right. We hope they get it right, and it slows down the economy, slows down inflation, and we don't go into a recession. They can get it wrong and go into inflation, or they can not do enough and we still have hyperinflation. So all of those three things we're talking about to try to prepare for us. And that's basically what we're looking at. We have a healthy reserves. We have 40-something% of reserves, about 1.3 million on our general fund. So we can smooth out any economic things that can happen. Most of our revenues actually occur through property taxes, and properties haven't lowered. Your property values are going up 10% this year. So it's happening in other parts of the country, but it hasn't happened since the demand in Florida is so strong. But if we do go into a recession, all the sales tax and all the other revenue sharings that we get from the state will slow down. That will affect us. So we have to gear up for that. So that is our proposal or our proposed budget message at a macro level. If anybody has a question on anything that I've talked about or anything you want to talk about at a micro level, I'm here to talk about the 29 pages of the budget. But I want to thank you all, council, for meeting with me and talking about the budget, help me formate this, the staff out there for helping me also, and appreciate all the help. So this is the first proposed budget.
Okay, we have any council comments, Mr. Shalhoub?
I've already met with Jeff, gone over everything for close to 2 hours.
Okay. Mr. Rodriguez? Good. Mr. Gonzalez? I'm just going down the line.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you so much, Joe. Really appreciate all the time and effort that you put into this. You know, we went from having a town engineer to now having a financial engineer. So thank you very much for the analysis on where we are in kind of the cycle and where we are in our books. And I feel really comfortable with where your head's at and how you're guiding the ship. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Maples?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Couple of quick questions, just one really. I know that we're doing the trim here and just kind of putting the notice out. We spoke about that. And then in September, kind of feeling where we're at as a town and where financially, the millage, we have an opportunity to have that discussion further, this council, and decide where we're at as a town. We do, obviously you want to see where we are financially with everything that's going on with these different contingencies and different things that could happen that are unprecedented, which would potentially cause the millage rate to stay the same. But ideally, even if it's incremental, the goal would be to try to lower that burden on the residents.
Yes, we will go over those options, definitely.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Joe.
No, thank you, John. And just so you all know, the trim notice that is going to come out next month, that's going to be mailed out by the county, is a very confusing document. If anybody has time that they want to come in, just make an appointment or just knock on my door and I'll go over it with you, because there's so much fair market value, assessed value, portability. There's all these kind of words in there that are hard to understand. So if anybody has time and they want me to go over theirs, come on in and I'll explain it to you.
Okay, very good. Audience comments. Tim, come on up. I know you had a couple in there. So is this, you want to talk about this one? Okay. All right.
So,
Hold on. come on up and
Okay.
introduce
Tim
yourself.
Daughtry, 1410 Keller Road.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, again, the millage rate's staying the same, okay? The county is lowering the millage rate significantly. Very significantly. I've mentioned it time and time and time again. It's long past the time that we need to lower the millage rate.
Thank you.
This rate was raised in the late 2000s decade to deal with the crash in the real estate market that occurred at that time. It was considered to be an emergency effort to plug holes in our budget at that time, okay? And we raised our millage rate to as high as we could possibly raise it. Well, since that time, real estate values have exploded all over the county, all over the United States. Fact is, when are we going to give our residents some relief? Okay, I'm not asking for the world. I'm just asking you all to be fair. My property tax, my property insurance on my house just this month went up from $6,600 a year to $9,300 a year. Okay, you can do the numbers on that. It's a pretty significant increase. There needs to be an effort on the part of this entire town council and our town manager, town administrator, town manager, I don't know which way you prefer to be called.
Fine.
To lower the millage rate, okay? The spending is over, okay? It's time. It's long past time that the millage rate be lowered and be lowered by a significant amount. The county's making a significant lowering of the millage rate. Why can we not do that? It's only fair to our residents with you've mentioned inflation and everything else. We're all faced with these struggles, okay? And some of us more than others. People on fixed incomes in this town need some relief, okay? It's long past time that we do something like that. Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else? Fran, come on up.
Fran Carlton, 8432 Waterway Drive. I just have a couple of questions because I hadn't seen these until tonight. The vacation rental ordinance, what kind of a capital improvement is that? I was trying to read the
It's,
resolution, but.
it's not, it's just a project. It's under a project, capital improvement or projects. It's a
Okay,
major
so
project.
like what kind of money is that going to take?
Well, we haven't
that it needs to
decided
be
on,
In the budget?
you want me to answer these questions? You okay with me answering these questions? Right, I can answer these questions, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. We're looking at a 400 to staff is going to recommend somewhere between $400 and $450, but it's not a revenue maker. It's basically we're trying to break even on our costs. We're going to get to that later in the agenda, but it's to mitigate the negative effects and the quality of life issues that, with the increasing number of vacation homes.
Okay, well, I kind of understood that part, but I didn't understood why it was under the
Well,
capital items.
It's just a project. We're just talking about projects that we're trying
In
to
the budget.
initiate. Yes, we're going to put that in the budget because it's going to have a revenue
It's going to have an income. Okay.
it's and an expense. We're going to have to do inspections and we're going to have to do administrative costs. So it is a significant new kind of regulation.
Okay, and my other thing is the lead pipe inspection. You said it's going to have to happen all over town and it's going to have to happen with residents and whatever. Let's say you find lead pipes, what then has to happen?
We have to deal with, they have to mitigate them. We have to remove them.
So if residences find out that they have lead pipes, what do they have to do? Tear up their house to
Yep.
get the pipes?
Yes. They're going to have to get rid of you. You're going to have to put you on notice somehow that you have to start a plan to get rid of those lead pipes.
Okay, let me see if there was anything else here I needed to ask while I'm standing here. No, I guess that's it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And another thing about
Excuse me.
the budget that came up, two things about how confusing that trim notice is. If you are homesteaded, your taxes will only go up 3%. But I have the same goal of lowering the millage rate. That's been my practice for many years. I'm going to try to do that. Many of the council members here are on that same. I've been talking to you all, and you want to lower the millage rate. So we're going to try our best. But just so you know, the county's rate has stayed the same for a long time. I think it says 30 years over here. But we're going to try to do that. And but if you are homesteaded, make sure you're homesteaded, because your rate your taxes can only go up. It's a great program in Florida, only up 3%. So just want to make sure you all knew that.
Any other audience comments? No? Nobody at this time? Mary, do we have any emailed questions?
No, we don't.
No? Nobody online or anything like that?
No.
Okay. So before we adjourn, I'm going to need some motions made.
Not here.
Pardon me?
Not on this section, I don't think. We're going to do
This
this
is after you did your presentation?
After we did the presentation.
No.
During the council meeting.
During the council meeting.
Yeah. Very good.
I'd make the motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
So moved. Okay. We're going to do the CRA first now?
Yes.
All right.
We're
We'll move
going
on to
to
the CRA.
agenda 2, which is I can't even find where agenda 2 is. Mary gave us a puzzle to go through. Thank you, Mary. But
The CRA's at the front.
it's this one.
Yeah.
Big book.
Yeah, no, I was, I thought it was.
There's 2 books we're going through, but it's this one. Right. Yeah.
Okay. Roll call, Mary?
Chairman Gregory Krebold,
Here.
Vice Chairman Robert Shalhoub.
Here.
Commissioner Valteen Rodriguez.
Here.
Commissioner Robert Gonzalez.
Here.
Commissioner John Maples.
Here.
Okay. Motion for approval of agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Carries. Approval of consent.
So moved.
Second.
A second.
Anybody second? Okay, good. So move. Carries. No new business. That's a good thing.
No,
We're doing well with the CRA.
the CRA is doing very well.
Good work, Dan and Bob. Okay. Any audience comments regarding the CRA? No audience comments? Any emailed questions, ladies?
No.
No? Okay. Any commissioner comments, Mr. Shahub? Is it presentation?
Yes.
We have a presentation. Where do I miss that? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe. I'm a little preoccupied tonight.
That's all right. I've been
I
talking a lot already.
apologize.
You just didn't want to hear me anymore.
No.
Okay, I'll go over this briefly. 2016, the CRA was created. It was about $25 million. And that's the year that's frozen. Everything after that goes into a CRA. The county and the town donates money to that. Let me tell you how powerful that is. Now it's valued at $39 million. Just to give you some example, in 2021, which was just 3 years ago, we put in $60,000 into the $66,000 into the CRA. We're putting about $150,000 into the CRA today. So it's a very powerful tool to get done what we need to get done, which is have some quality redevelopment on that corridor between Florida Mango and I-95. We still have the same programs. I'll talk about the same programs first, which is improve the median, give business incentives, and looking at some other advocacy programs to promote quality development. The thing I want to talk about is the professional fees, or the chicken or the egg, as I like to call it. When you talk to planners and professionals in that field, they'll say, let's change the zoning, let's put an overlay in there, and let's promote quality development. Let's put increased density, let's go more height, let's go more intensity. So this way you promote developers to do what you wanted to do. The chicken or the egg is, or since the market is changing so quickly, just imagine 5 years ago, the market's totally different. The office space was in demand. Office space is now not in demand. Residential's in demand. Industrial's in demand. Things are happening so quickly. So if you want some kind of development which you want, do we meet with developers and see what they want? So that's the chicken and the egg. So do we change the code, we change the zoning to promote what we want? Because that card is going to change no matter what. That land is too valuable, in my opinion. It's too close to downtown. It's going to change. But we do have competition. We have Congress, we have US 1, but I believe that corridor is going to change. We want quality development. That's what I want. I want to make sure the council gets what they want, but it's the chicken and the egg. That's what we're going to talk about in the future. Do we want to put money into changing the zoning and to put incentives for density, intensity, and height? Or do we let developers come to us and tell us what they want? So that is something I want you to start thinking about, and we're going to talk about in the future. So that's my presentation.
Now, commissioner comments? Vice Mayor?
What Joe was, just to amplify what Joe was talking about, if you take a look at the development on Forest Hill Boulevard, it's limited to height. And so one of the concepts that Dan Clark had brought to us a couple years ago was to increase the height on Forest Hill Boulevard so that you could make the property more marketable and invite more development. So that's where Mr. Lobello was, I think, starting to condition us for an appreciation of the modification. Did you check out 6900? Is it in or is it out?
It's out. It's not in the CRA.
Can we put it in?
Would be a big deal, I think.
It would be difficult. It can be done, but it would be difficult. It can be done, but not easily.
He's talking about that vacant land that the town owns. It's not in the CRA. It's next to
6900 West Lake Drive. There was big controversy. People started approaching all of us and say, we don't want a 7-Eleven there. We go, we're not putting a 7-Eleven there. So don't worry about that. It's not going to happen. And so that was part of the rezoning because the town council at that time felt that it had a fiduciary responsibility to see if you could get the highest and best use of that property. So that's why we redirected. That's why we amended the zoning for that. And when I was talking with Mr. Lobello about the budget, I wanted to do something with that piece of property. In particular, I want to make it look prettier than it is right now. And at the same time, I appreciate the fact that the people who have come to me have stated they don't want it for commercial. They want it, keep it green space or sell it as a residential parcel. So I was just suggesting to Mr. Lobello, I think that's an entrance to Lake Clark, and I think we just need to spend some money and put some landscaping on it. So I was hoping that we could utilize the contribution since we have in the line item budget for the CRA Forest Hill Boulevard median improvements, and we also have opportunities for
other improvements.
I wanted to see if we could maybe partner with the CRA, and I know that left hand and right hand we're working together here with LCS and the general budget to see if we can focus some energies and some ideas to make it look prettier. So thank you, Joe. I appreciate it.
No, thank you.
President Pro Tem there.
The only comment I was thinking about the median is somehow making our median showcase Lake Clark Shores. Because right now you drive down that median, you really don't know where you're at. And quite frankly, I think it's not very attractive in many of the areas. There's a lot of some kind of dirt or something on the median area. It hasn't been cleaned in a long time. It could use a nice paint job. It could use a nice sign, kind of, or flags or something that all these other towns. When I was in Boca last week, I was going through Meisner Park, and I'm just like, you know where you're at. And I just feel like, we're a little shining spot in Palm Beach County. You know how many people drive through that area every single day? I mean, it's unbelievable. If we could just remind them this is Lake Clark Shores and take pride. I would personally like to see something done with that median that makes it look like a city that's proud of itself. with the flags or banners or some better looking trees and stuff that looks nice like other towns do. That's my only comment. I'd like to see if we could do that in the next year.
Well, I can give you an update if I may.
Yeah,
We actually are getting quotes that we have beautiful medullas, palms on that corridor. And we have some other 13 small palms. We're getting quotes right now on trimming them, making them look good, mulch, cleaning up the area. I agree. You should definitely drive that area and know that you're in Lake Clark Shores. So
maybe
that's,
paint the sidewalk. Or
it needs some it needs some pressure cleaning, it needs some cleanup, but we're actually working on quotes right now to trim those trees. I believe those trees they're beautiful medullas, by the way. They should be trimmed twice a year, right before the holidays and right now before hurricane season, before the height of hurricane season, which is late August, early September, so if everybody knows that. So we're working on that, and that's my plan for the future, is to have it done twice a year, because those medullas should be showcased.
Thank you.
Councilman Rodriguez?
Mr. Lobello, one of the things that impressed me the most when we were all interviewing you is vision and this forward-thinking view of Lake Clark Shores. So I was really impressed with that. I think that to answer your question about the chicken or the egg, I think that it would behoove us as a town to educate ourselves in terms of what developers are looking for, what the current trends are, what the new and latest thing is. And I know that the town has
mixed use. Everything's, the big buzzword is mixed use residential with some retail, some office, but.
And I know that you guys have already you've met with a couple of developers
Yes.
to kind of get ideas. So you're really into it and you really have your heart into it and want to make sure that it's going to be the best thing for Lake Clark Shores. It's going to suit us, our personality, and also the residents. I would like to kind of commend the plaza where Sushi Joe and Four Brothers and, for many, many years, Lake Clark Shores, unfortunately, was kind of like a dead zone for good restaurants that we can easily get to. So part of that use, part of that development would certainly be convenience and lifestyle for our residents.
I agree.
You good? Bob, you good? Councilman Maples?
Thank you, Mayor. Joe, quick question. Do we have anything that kind of shows like maybe something written out or your vision or what you've been thinking as far as future planning for this CRA in the town?
We have a draft of an overlay. I've been looking at, we have a planner, Jack Horniman, very familiar with him. I used him in my past job. So we're talking with him. But again, he's always going to say, do the chicken, obviously let's do the overlay, let's do the zoning changes, but I don't know what to recommend to you yet. I still want to research that.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. We're good to go. Everybody's asked for questions. Everybody's good out there. Tim?
Tim Daughtry, 1410 Keller Road. The median on Forest Hill, please, please, please be careful with it, okay? When it was originally planted, there was huge problems with it, and I asked Dan a number of times about trimming of the two big bush-type trees when you're coming westbound, turning down Pine Tree. It was dangerous. It's getting overgrown again, okay? We've had some really devastating accidents at Pine Tree and Forest Hill, and any plantings in the medians will affect sight lines turning down Pine Tree and turning down Westlake, and we've got to be very, very, very careful about this. There's been some really devastating accidents there. I almost got killed there a week ago.
Let me know the areas that you think there's a site, we call it a site triangle issue.
All you gotta do is go out there and look.
Okay, I'll look at it again.
It's really clear, and
But
the chief can let you know that too. Okay, there's been some really devastating accidents.
I'll look at it again.
There,
Thank you.
okay?
Thank you.
And please, 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 don't overplant it. Don't go high with it. You got to be really careful. The sight lines on that road coming to Pine Tree and coming to Westlake, they're a big, big, big issue. Okay?
Thank you.
I can update you on that too. FDOT, which is the Florida Department of Transportation, changed their guidelines immensely. You can't even put in those palms that you got there. They have to be stick palms like Alexander palms, Christmas palms. So what you got there is what you got. You can't put any more. So we're going to maintain what we have. We're not going to put anything extra, but we're going to make it look really good. So you have to go through a big permitting process to put trees in there, and they will not approve them.
I'm glad that they did that because when we took that over, after that was finished, part of the protocol there was if any of those trees died, they had to be replaced with the same.
You can do like with like, but you cannot change them out and you can't
That's
add.
changed. I'm glad that's changed. That's a good thing.
You can always, you can do like with like, and that's grandfathered in, but you cannot add. It's so difficult to add. FDOT's changed their regulations. And like I said, they're into stick trees now, which is those small skinny Alexanders or those Christmas palms.
There's an adage in best management practices, right plant, right place,
Yes.
period. Okay, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you.
Fran had some.
Oh, Fran? Oh, okay.
Thank you, Fran Carlton, again, Waterway Drive. This is really for the next agenda, but because you all are talking about beautiful and pride, and when are you going to fix the wall that's the entrance into Arabian that's had a hole in it for at least a month and it looks horrible? And the wind was blowing the other day and it was flapping open and there was just this big hole. And it is part of Lake Clark Shores too. And since those of us that live in that little corner would really love to have pride in our corner, please fix it.
We were working on it. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on.
You get
One
Claudia.
more.
Oh, Claudine, oh, I should have come right up. I thought you might have wanted to save this for later. That's why I acknowledged
You
you.
know that I
Tell, he's
cannot-
right here for you now.
I
Let him know.
cannot keep it from me. Claudine Vasseur, 6904 Venetian Way. I mean, there is something that I don't understand. The gentleman who just talked before me.
Tim? Yes?
Yes. Tim. You know what? I think when you have bushes and trees and greenery and stuff like that, and people cannot see very well, they slow down and they look, or they're stupid,
Were they what?
or they're stupid.
Oh, I see.
So I do think that it's an improvement to calm down people when they cannot see too far away on the road. So I am pro bushes and the median higher. Also at night, you don't have the lights from the coming traffic. I think it has much more benefits than negative points. And if you come into Lake Clark Shores, I said that already for a long time, it is really not representative for what the town is. You have a pearl in your hands. I said that from the beginning on. Who shut me down? Oh.
We wouldn't shut you.
Okay. I say that from the beginning I'm here, and I think everybody should be proud of this town. It's a beautiful place to live. But Forest Hill, when you come down from 95 or you go up to 95, you remember when you come in, it's not attractive, not representative. And when you go away, you don't know you've been in Lake Clark Shores. And you can add to that maybe on some parts, some art, you know, in the parks, some art, things that make people happy and that they can walk in the parks, make them safely and interesting. So this is it for me. I mean, but that's my point of view. I mean, if you make everything low, I mean, they're speeding already like hell, they're driving like hell. When they cannot see, well, it's one or the other. Are they suicidal?
Do you still want the bush with the bench cut down?
Yes, but that's for, no, not,
I'm just making clear.
not cut down.
I pay
Cleaned
attention when you
out.
call me.
Why? Because that's been planted before, I don't know, I mean, before I was here, I don't know when it's been planted. But those bushes, they all grow together. They have no place to expand. So dig them out, some of them, and put them on other places in the park.
Okay.
I rate that place. I see, I mean, I'm on first scene, but I mean, sorry for the expression, but I saw people pooping there.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
Right.
People doing drugs there. I mean, come on, give me a break. So if that would be a bit more open, it's like the two benches, it's all crawled in, and trimming them, well, why not let grow those plants on better places in that park?
Okay.
I mean, in my opinion, again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr.
All
Mayor?
right, motion to adjourn.
No,
Mr. Mayor,
no,
do you have a comment online?
Oh, boy, did I miss that part? I know I'm preoccupied, but go ahead.
Yes, it's a written comment from Pat Boyer, and she says, coming out to Florida Mango is better for sight, but needs more attention to smaller plants.
Thank you.
Very good. Come on up, Jen. Yeah, of course.
Hi, Jennifer Chanowski, 7130 Pine Tree Lane. I thought that was great what you were saying, Val, about, taking pride in our town and like welcoming people here. So I noticed that the town signs are like, I think as good as they're ever going to look, and they don't look good. And then your comment made me think of it too. I always thought the sign at Arabian was like better maintained. I think it just gets less rust into that coral rock and less of the hard water spots or whatever's going on with the Mexican tilebacks. But they've all they're showing their age. I'd say they need some facelifting and just things I've observed, because we're talking kind of about the CRA still. So along that corridor that stretched, broken sidewalks on the north side of Forest Hill. There were street lights out, it's become very dark, and it looked like they were improving them and turning them back on. Like they were out for maybe a year or more. All the street lights that are very tall, the metal ones that go toward 95 if you're heading east. And I think they turned on for a little bit. Now there's 6 of them that are still off again, and you're probably aware of it. And then, just the maintenance, or I don't know if that falls in CRA with all those businesses there, like what you were saying, Sushi Joe's improved and looks better. It looks like they painted and it's a better plaza than it once was. But then on the north side of Forest Hill, it's the forgotten plazas of businesses. I don't know if you guys incentivize them or if maybe it's on your hit list, but those are just my observations. But the signs would be such a great thing, because it's, that would be welcoming people and showing them you're in our community now. There's the one on the north side of Forest Hill that I think everyone just kind of blows past. It's not lit very well, and it's really showing its age. And then the Memorial Park one you see, but when you look at it, it's really not.
I think if the price is right for those properties over there on the north side that are commercial, the rentals, we would love to see those go away.
Yeah.
They're where most of our calls go and are troublesome.
Difficult.
So I agree. And we have tried to incentivize. I think we tried to coordinate a buyer for where those little offices were back in there with that whole, where the drug place is and all that. It's back, the methadone. I don't get caught up in that stuff. But, so I agree. We understand, and we're trying, we're pushing them. So
Yeah. Okay.
that's part of what I think you're talking about. We're
100%.
changing land use ordinances. That's going to be an
Yeah.
investment, not an expense. So as we form the budget, we'll check it out.
Yes, my one last comment, they're all not in any random order, not in any good order. When you were saying the chicken or the egg, that was really interesting and a great analogy. The Like one time I came and I observed there was it a Montessori or a preschool that wanted to move in to that space in front of where the doctor's offices are on the north side of Forest Hill. And that was like all good and well if they could come to the parking agreement, and I don't know whatever came of that or what have you. But that just would call to my attention, or your attention, I guess it called to my idea. It was, do you let the developer come in and that influences traffic? Because the traffic, you can only go so wide there. I don't think you could ever improve. And like, it's already very difficult to turn into Westlake. I'm sure like those of you that live off Westlake know that, 5 o'clock traffic and all this stuff with that turn and like the curve of the road. So I think like, is there a traffic study and like traffic considerations always taken in? Because when what was it, a preschool, Montessori was going to take that building, there was parking consideration, but the whole time I was listening to that meeting, I thought, what about traffic consideration? Because that's to me the much larger issue. That was my only comment. Yeah.
You're right.
I thought it was a daycare rather than a Montessori school.
Yeah, it was some.
But that was an issue with regard to the parking.
Right.
And we couldn't do anything. And basically the doctors came and said, we object. And we basically said, my recollection is that you need to work it out together. And then once you figure it out, you can come back to us, but we're not going to say you can't do something because it's part of your overall planning.
Yeah.
I think that was the issue.
There was those-
Now the Montessori school came in and rented space from New Life Alliance.
Oh, from a church. Yeah. That's
Right.
separate. So this
That's-
is the preschool that I was thinking.
Right. I think it was a preschool.
Yeah.
And it is north of the apartments off of Florida Mango. And you see the playground there. That's the beginning, I think, at the entrance to the Montessori school. Because that Montessori school left the church and went over there. And then a new Montessori school came back into the church.
Oh, so there's 2 over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just made me think with I'm referring to that daycare that was just north by the doctor's offices and everything. They were going to capture that little area. And it was great you guys were considering parking with them, but then I thought it really didn't get discussed, the traffic, you can't do a U-turn there very safely. It was like traffic seemed a big concern when you're discussing like development and all these, making that area better.
Well, you haven't been here in a while, but I now know that there's a traffic study that was just approved by the town council. I think the
Maybe that
meeting
addresses
before
all
last.
that.
Yes. And that had to do with the Lake Clark Shores proper. So I've asked Joe to take it into consideration, not just a traffic study of what we have with regard to speed bumps and stop signs and other issues, but also the ingress and the egress with regard to the
Those types of
to the professional plaza on the north side.
Yeah, oh, that's great. Some of those, I just think they're older buildings and older traffic areas and things have grown and it needs to be considered. So that's great. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
there was quite a bit of discussion about the traffic pattern when we were talking about the Montessori and, since all the kids come and go at the same time, dropped off, picked up. And I do remember there was some conversation.
We had
about
some
that.
issues with regard to the walkers parking the car and getting in to the doctors.
Yep.
The doctors are the ones who blocked it.
Correct.
At the end of the day, that's what happened. So traffic is going to be an issue. It already is everywhere. Traffic is a huge issue. I don't know how they're going to cure it. I mean, just look at 95. If you travel 95, you take your life into your hands every time you jump on it. So, okay, we'll continue to work. Yes, ma'am. Come forward. How are you, Madison?
I'm not sure if it's conflict of interest, but I know you all were stating that you're doing some estimates for tree service. So just because we're all like,
I've never heard of that guy.
yeah,
Can
attorney
he be
tree
trusted?
service, he's a good guy. He lives in Lake Clark Shores, he's your neighbor and you're all about, local businesses and supporting each other. Maybe you could contact him, he might be able to give you a better quote.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
He does good work. I think I've used him once or twice myself.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn the CRA meeting.
So moved.
Second? Okay, good to go. Let's move forward, gentlemen.
Number 3, the blue
To
sheet.
number 3. Okay. This is the Town of Lake Clark Shores Town Council meeting, July 11th, 2023. Roll call, please.
Now I have to readjust. Mayor Gregory Freebold,
Here.
Vice Mayor Robert Shalhoub,
Here.
President Pro Tem Valteen Rodriguez.
Here.
Councilmember Robert Gonzalez,
Here.
Councilmember John Maples.
Approval of agenda,
So moved.
second?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion on the, just approve of the agenda. Okay, I'm sorry, yes.
You're gonna,
Yeah,
So
I'll
we-
second.
you got a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carries. Motion
Like to
for
make a
approved
motion.
consent?
Yes.
Now you
The
want
consent
this.
agenda. I'd like to move to approve the consent agenda after moving item 3E and 3F to new business for discussion.
3E, 3F. We'll move those to new business. Okay, do we have a motion to approve with those notations?
Well, I'll second his motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Number 6.
All right. No presentations, no quasi judicial proceedings. And let's move on to the public hearing imposing a non-ad valorem special assessment for nuisance abatement involving a property located at 7730 West Lake Drive, Lake Clark Shores, Florida, 33406. Mr. Lobello.
Yeah, this one's real quick. 7730, the house on that address on West Lake Drive is going through some kind of process, maybe a foreclosure. They can't maintain their property. We're maintaining and cleaning their property on a monthly basis. We'd like to impose a lien. It was also recommended by our code board to impose this lien. And this way, if there's a quick claim or something that happens, we can rest assured we would get at least our money back. So this is not a fine. It's just to get our money back. It's costing us about $75 a month to clean that lot. And this is a public hearing, so you have to take comments on this. Right?
Yes. Any audience comments? Come right up.
I just want to be familiar with, is it on the house that you're referencing to? Is it on Pine Tree?
Yes.
Okay.
No,
sorry.
West Lake Drive.
Drive.
West Lake Drive, I'm sorry.
There's a house that's on Pine Tree.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. I need your name and address.
Yes, Madison Lindgren.
And your address.
7606, yeah, Pine Tree Lane tonight. So anywho, yeah, the house that's on Pine Tree, the gentleman, he had unfortunately passed away in his home and we found him.
Yeah.
That's on the main lake side. What's going on with that? I thought that was the house, but
No, it's not that.
There's nothing going on. He's just getting bids on.
Okay.
The house right now. And he's got plenty of money.
Yeah.
gotcha. All right,
Thank you.
wrong
Thank you.
house.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for clearing
Okay.
it up.
It's okay.
No, thank you.
Any other audience comments? No? Good. Any emailed?
No, nothing on.
Nothing? Council comments? Mr. Shahub,
So moved.
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carries.
So we're passing.
Okay, unfinished business. Approval of resolution 2023-23 imposing a non-ad valorem special assessment for nuisance abatement involving a property located at 7730 West Lake Drive, Lake Clark Shores, Florida, 33406.
I think I just did that.
We just did that.
Yeah. We're okay, Charlie?
Yes.
Do it again, please.
We're okay. We can go to the next item.
My understanding is, for the record, that you closed the public hearing before you made that
Yeah.
motion.
And
There
Mayor,
you go. That's exactly what happened, Charlie.
who
That's how-
seconded that?
That's how I remember it.
I thought that's what happened.
That's what I remember.
I got a lot going on.
May I ask who seconded that motion?
Pardon me?
Val Rodriguez.
Val? Okay, thank you.
Okay, now Charlie, when we go to new business, you want to take care of 3E and 3F first or do the other one first?
I'd rather do the budget first because that's important and then we'll go to the other ones.
Okay,
So always try to get the budget done.
and this is where we,
This is the formal part of the, again, the two processes. One is we're approving the public hearing dates in September, which is on the 12th, which is the regular Tuesday meeting, and the 27th, which is a Wednesday. So we'd like to approve those dates, and we're also approving the proposed millage rate, which is 6.2798, which is 9.23% over the rollback rate. The rollback rate is 5.7490, and it's the worst case scenario rate. It can be lowered, but it cannot be increased. So that's what I'm recommending a motion on, approving the dates and the proposed millage rate.
So we need a motion to confirm the 2022, 2023 millage rate, 6.2798.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Need a motion to set the tentative millage rate for fiscal year 2023, 2024 to 6.2798.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Motion to certify the rollback millage rate of 5.7490.
So moved.
Second,
A second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, carries. Okay, and motion to set the first and second public hearing dates of 9/12/2023 and 9/27/2023.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Carries.
I can, just a comment, I know to pass regardless. I'll be on a flight that day, but
You and your airplanes.
I know,
Holy moly.
coming back from Alaska.
We have to have 3 people here present on those days, but you can call in, but we have to have 3 people in the chair present here.
Okay.
But the other 2 can be by phone or by Zoom or any other matter, and still can vote.
Okay, we'll move on now to the first reading of ordinance 2023-03, amending chapter 125 to adopt a new division for vacation rentals.
No,
Oh.
I think we want to do the
You want to do the other ones first?
E and F, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, Mr. Maples, you have the floor. You want to talk about under the consent 3E and 3F? It's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Under 3E, approval of resolution 2023-27, authorizing the town manager to make any necessary budget transfers between departments within a fund for fiscal year 2022-2023. In the past, this has been approved, but my concern is that there's no oversight on where it's not that Joe's moving the money. It's more that we don't know where it's going or what department it's showing up at. There's no documentation. I work in the world of finance. Everything has to be documented, and you have to know where money's moving, and you got to be able to show that the money went to where you said it was going to go. So in September, when we do the final budget, when we have the numbers, when Joe knows, hey, I've got to move it from PD to utilities for this specific reason, and it comes before this council, we did have documentation. It's not a carte blanche to move the funds back and forth and no one knows where the funds are being moved to. So this just creates, not that Joe's doing anything, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is there's just some checks and balances. There's some way for this thing to be transparent, but also very clear to residents, very clear to this council where the money's going. And we can do that in September when Joe knows the numbers, he knows what he's going to do for the budget. Then it's easily documented, and we can then settle up on approving those transfers and those moves then in September when we have the documentation to actually show what he's moving the money to and where it's going.
And
So
and note that this is for the 2022-23 budget. Florida law for municipalities is very different than the budget process for private corporations. The state statute provides that we can have no overexpended line item within our budget. So the budget has to be adjusted to reflect no overexpended line items. It's the process is that you move funds from an underexpended line to the overexpended line within the budget. You do not touch reserves. You do not go outside of the budget. If you do that, that requires a budget hearing and a approval by the town council. But to transfer the funds within the budget so that no line items are overexpended is a very routine procedure each year at the end of the fiscal year, which is, of course, September 30th, as you correctly mentioned.
thank you, Mr. Shack. And so what I would like to do is say, let's approve this in September when we see documentation all the moves that's happening. It will balance out. They'll audit it, they'll check it, but it's just another step of transparency, another step of check and balances to make sure everything's being done properly on the books. And so that's my recommendation, is that for E, we come back and approve this during September when Joe knows where he has to move things in a very routine process. And then we have the documentation to note that and show it. And any resident can then say, hey, we want to see what happened. Why did this 20,000 move to utilities? And there's a documentation, there's reports, there's things showing exactly what happened there. And so it's not a carte blanche kind of move things wherever you need them. And so, Mr. Mayor, that's what I have on E. And if you want to stop there, and before I jump to F, you let me know what.
But that, does he need to make that in the form of a motion?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'd like to make a motion for the council to support this approval in September when we know and have documentation of exactly the moves that are being made within the budget to balance it. Mr. Sheck, is that a good motion?
That's sufficient, yes.
Is there a second? Motion fails for lack of a second. Okay, move on to 3F.
Okay. So on 3F, creating the town of Lake Clark Shores public purpose expenditure policy. What we have here is just wanting to put some parameters in place from a finance standpoint to allow, again, transparency within what we're doing. So ultimately, D recommends recognition or recognizing events for employees may be hosted by the town manager or others. Yeah. We've got these gifts that exceeds $750. That seems a bit high for me. I would like that to be 500 per event. And then refreshments may be provided for employees, visitors, and guests of the town. I like to put a number in there just to make sure it doesn't get abused. It never has, but just another way of check and balance, just to have some number there or point of reference. And so adding 100 there. So making a motion to change the 750 to 500 and to add $100 per month for refreshments under 6E, and making that change to add $100 per month for refreshments and all those types of things. So we have a number. So I'm on 6E and 6D are the two changes we're talking about, 750 to 500 and adding $100 per month for E.
Is there a second?
I just have a question. What about 6G? I mean,
Well, it all says that you must have prior approval of the town council on both issues.
Yeah, over 750.
I mean, just to be consistent, are you talking about D, E, and G?
Yes, we can do G as well. I talked to Joe about G, and he felt like that 10, 20-year thing would, you needed more resources for those types of things. It's a little bigger celebration, but I would be okay with changing 750 to 500 as well, just to have this document be consistent.
No second? Fails, no second.
Okay, we need to have additional motions on both items because at this point, no action has been taken because the motion failed for a lack of a second.
Motion to approve resolution 2023-27.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm opposed. Mayor, one opposed?
One opposed?
Yes.
One opposed. Okay.
Thank you.
Carries 4-1. Okay, we're going to need a
Motion to approve resolution 2023-28.
second. Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, if I may make a comment.
Okay.
Since we're still kind of discussing this and about, I don't want to take, we put a lot of faith in Joe, and I think that there's plenty of procedural safeguards that would prevent an abuse of any type of spending. By changing this document, we're essentially stripping Joe of some of his ability to incentivize staff. this is something that, we're not talking about large amounts here when it comes to the performance for staff and the amount of work that they do and have done and will continue to do. So I would second the motion.
All in favor?
Can I just make another comment?
Oh, yes.
But I get what I'm just trying to figure out, and help me, Mr. Maples, if I understand this. You're just concerned that it should be from 750 to 500. And if it's over 500, it needs to come to us, I guess.
Correct.
Yes.
I mean, I'll just say, the one comment I just want to make on that is, I feel like there's so many more important things for the council to deal with, with all due respect, than dealing with an expenditure over $500.
Except that the law requires the council and only the council to make the decision as to what is a public purpose. So the purpose of this resolution is to set guidelines where you have made the determination as to what's a public purpose and allow the manager to work within those guidelines. So at this point, you have to decide, is the guideline 500 or is the guideline 750? Because if it exceeds either of those numbers, whichever you choose, then it has to come back to you for the determination of the public purpose. Joe cannot make that decision independently of the council. He can only make it subject to the guidelines of the council.
And that's assuming always that it fits the public purpose definition.
Well, he's going to make that decision.
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
So, and that's not really reviewable by us.
But it has to be in accordance with the resolution. If it's outside of the resolution, then it has to come back to you.
I just, the problem is this, I don't know really practically between 500 and 750 if it's really a big difference from our purposes. I mean, we put a lot of trust in the town manager, and I just feel like having to review it.
Well, there's a motion on the table.
Yeah, that was just my comment. That's all I had.
Okay. And we had a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, all those in favor? All right. Any opposed?
I'll oppose.
4-1. Carries. Okay, let's move on here. Then we're going to go to item B, under new business. First reading of ordinance 2023-03, amending chapter 125 to adopt a new division for vacation rentals. Mary?
An ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Lake Clark Shores, Florida, amending Chapter 125 zoning of the Town Code of Ordinances by amending Article 7 supplemental regulations to adopt new Division 16 vacation rentals, providing for applicability, providing for registration and inspection, providing for vacation rental standards, providing for violations, enforcement and remedies, providing for codification, severability, conflicts, and an effective date, and for other purposes.
Any audience comments? No? Any?
Want to make a short presentation?
Pardon me?
Want me to make a short presentation?
Yes.
I promise it'll be short.
That's okay.
Okay.
We're here to talk to each other.
This was on last month's agenda, and we've been discussing this over the last several months. A lot of residents, council members, and staff are concerned about the increasing number of vacation rentals in town and their negative impacts. If left unregulated, staff believes that they will disturb the quality of life in your neighborhoods and in your neighbors, and they will increase negative aspects, which is traffic, noise, will have a greater demand of public services. So we believe, we are recommending we should do some regulations. There'll be some pluses and minuses, but let me just review them real quick, what we're going to put in effect if this is passed. First, we're going to have a responsible party that can be contacted and will answer us back within 24 hours. We'll need to have all the paperwork. This is a 5-page application that goes with this resolution that has to do with the paying all their sales tax, their tourist taxes, or their licenses, and to make sure they're not homesteaded. The next is safety, to make sure all the safety, the pool area, the smoke detectors, we're going to all to have a site plan to make sure these are all spelled out, make sure everything is operating. Railings, again, these are guests in your house, so they don't know where they're going in your house, so we don't want to have any safety issues. We want to mitigate those. Next one is a big item for me. It requires that you limit 2 people for each bedroom in the house, plus an extra 2. So if you have a 3-bedroom house, you can only have 8 people. If you have a 4-bedroom house, you can only have 10 people. So you can't have these large parties at vacation rentals. Next is what the leasing requirements are for the lease agreement. The next thing is the responsible parties. That has to be all spelled out and agreed to. Again, I talked about a floor plan submission, and obviously all this has to be done and inspected by the town zoning. Sometimes we'll even call on fire to make sure, and our building inspector. So it's pretty detailed, but again, it's for the safety and to mitigate all the negative effects that are happening on vacation rentals, on some vacation rentals. So we're recommending approval.
This is already in place in other municipalities.
Yes, sir.
We also addressed the concerns of some of the residents that came forward to get their input. I understand you met with several neighbors.
Yes, I have.
And they provided you their input and concerns.
Yes, they have. And they've helped out. Thank you.
So moved.
I just want to make one point for the record that I've been on the council for a long time, and over the years, we've had complaints about vacation rentals going back years, particularly with noise, particularly with number of occupants, with trash, with, non-responsive owners. I don't think this is an issue that's just come up recently. We've had it since vacation rentals have started in town. It's too bad we didn't do this earlier, but I'm glad we're at it now. Thank you. I know in March, Joe, before you became our town manager, you did provide us with a heads up on Juno, and we appreciate that.
Welcome.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
As you folks know, I've been a big proponent about regulating in some way the Airbnbs. First of all, just to understand what we have going on in our neighborhood, in our community. But I do want to put on the record and make a mention that not all Airbnbs or VRBOs are created equal, and they're not all evil. For example, 7404, if you go on VRBO, they have done a beautiful, fantastic, incredible job at showcasing a home in our neighborhood that is going to attract, somebody that is willing to spend some money and be amongst our residents. It does not look like a party house. They actually have a concierge team that they advertise, 3 different people that are held accountable. Their faces and their pictures and contact information is there. So there's definitely a right way to do it. I know that Ms. Kirkpatrick was here at the last meeting, and we've got Joey Shear here, and these are just examples of really, residents that are invested in our community, that have really gone above and beyond to create something that's beautiful, that showcases Lake Clark Shores, and if managed correctly.
What was that address? You said you gave the number.
7404 Pine Tree Lane. Yes.
Thank you. And to further your good comments there, Bobby, that they actually promote better behavior. That's what we've noticed in Juno Beach. So even the bad players came over to be better players.
Sure.
So it worked in my prior town.
It's you know what, if there's ever somebody that wanted to, kind of like try before you buy in our neighborhood, some of these rentals, short-term rentals, you can rent it, you can see it, you can kind of see what the makeup is. One of the biggest questions when you're looking for property sometimes is, well, what is the traffic going to be like on your morning commute? What is what is the day-to-day, your week? Because sometimes when you go and you see it, you're only spending an hour with a house. So it's nice to get to know the neighborhood.
Yes.
Okay, everybody's good?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, question. Joe, what were some of the registration fees and some of the costs that residents were saying they were comfortable with paying to, be a part of this process? What were they saying? What were some of the numbers that were thrown up?
Some wanted lower than the 400 to 450, but after I talked to them about what we have to do, they understood why I'm recommending between 400 and 450.
Okay. And then is that, just so I understand, there's an initial fee, right? And then is there like the city of Weston does like a certificate of use, meaning like after they've met all the standards and they've come to the town's gone out, then there's an additional fee, and then there's like an annual renewal year over year. Is that our process for this, or what?
It's just one fee. You can do it any way you want, but what we're recommending is just one fee a year and make it simple, annually.
Yeah, this fee pales in comparison to revenue they're receiving.
Right, and we can adjust it up or down once we have an experience of what this is actually costing us.
What do you want to make a motion to accept first reading of ordinance?
Mr. Mayor,
Oh,
we have a
yes.
comment online.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, it's from Victoria Prinsey, and she says, too many rules should not have additional regulations. Enough, this town is turning into an HOA. And she said that they are already regulated by the town.
Very
So
good.
moved.
So noted. We have a motion?
Yes, so moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Carries.
Thank you.
Good. Okay, we'll move on to item number 9, audience comments. Do we have any audience comments? Jim, yeah, I got it. Come on up. Yes, sir.
Two things. Oh, Tim Daughtry, 1410 Keller Road. Two things. Our lake and the use of water in our town. Time for us to start looking at other opportunities.
Thank you.
To prevent pollutants, phosphorus.
Thank you.
Herbicides, whatever, getting into our lake. There's lots of grant opportunities to take lawns from what we primarily have in this area, just green grass manicured very nicely, into natural areas. There's a lot of grant money nationwide, and there's a lot of impetus towards putting these programs into place. Water is a big issue, not just in Lake Clark Shores, not just in the county, not just in the state, but nationwide. And there's opportunities out there for us to do these types of things in this town if we choose to move forward on. And it's something I think we need to move into. Okay? If we're serious about our lake, cleaning up our lake, we need to look at different ways to manage our yards. Okay, so that's the first one. And the second one is, and I brought this before the council before, and I'm bringing it forward again.
Thank you.
I think we need to look at other opportunities to provide for our residents.
Yeah.
And in Lake Worth, Mary Lindsay is
Thank you.
a real champion in the little free libraries all over town. And we do have one box of free library here at our town park, but these are in front of residents' houses, okay? Mary's championed that in Lake Worth and has done a tremendous job, and it provides a lot of reading materials, especially to our younger residents, okay? And as part of that, she has begun to partner with Lake Park, and she's begun to partner with Green Acres to put these little free libraries in those jurisdictions. So it's something I think we need to look at to provide for our younger members in our neighborhood, be able to read and get books on a daily basis without having to go to the library. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other audience comments? Fran, come on up.
Fran Carlton, 8432 Waterway Drive. I'm going to bring it up again. I've already mentioned it, but when you're thinking of the CRA and Forest Hill, please do not forget Arabian Road and our entrance. Jen mentioned she thought our entrance was the best. You haven't seen it in the last month. Oh, you saw the hole. Okay. Yeah. But it was a very nice entrance and let people know that Lake Clark Shores, we've got all these other developments along there and they have pretty entrances and it was nice to have a pretty entrance for Lake Clark Shores. So that's my first thing.
Thank
My
you.
second thing, or third thing, or whichever, this is going to be second one. Regarding resolution 2023-27, that did not get a second. I understand what Charlie said when he says that the manager needs to move and that's a common practice. I haven't had a chance to look at the budget yet because I just got it tonight, but I know I am not the only person here that will probably have certain line item concerns in the budget, particularly if there's anything in here about the sewer that is not happening until maybe it happens, but you guys are moving ahead with it anyway. If those line items are the underfunded ones and you move from overfunded to those line items, you're going to have some really unhappy residents if we aren't told that that's happening. So I would like to have the council and the town manager in particular, when you are moving something from one line item to another, to make sure that the residents know that you have done it, even if you're not required to, just so that if it's going to be one of those kind of line items, it's going to really upset a bunch of us, that we're aware that it's happening. So that's a request. I can't, obviously the resolution passed the way you guys have it, so we can't know for sure that's going to happen, but I'm making it as a request so that you don't have a lot of unhappy residents. And maybe none of them, you may not move any that way, but that's my big concern, is that those line items will be underfunded and get extra money somewhere along the line. The other thing is on the, what is its number? 2023-2028, the public purpose expenditure thing. My big concern is, where is it going to be in the budget? So we can look at that line item.
These are all usually very immaterial items, so there's no budget adjustment needed.
Okay, well, it may be immaterial, but when I read this, like D, 6D, there's a lot of things here that it can happen. And as long as it's not more than 750, the event doesn't have to be approved. I want to know, how many of these events can we have? We've got a bunch of employees that might be celebrating something or performance, on their performance or recognition of safety. And it mentions retirement in D, then it mentions retirement again in G. And I'm just wondering, how many of these wonderful things can we have? Not that our employees should not be recognized, but at $7.50 a crack and we have very many of them, then it can become a total amount. I mean, an amount to pay attention to. Got any idea how many of these you might have a year?
I don't expect a lot of them, and it's up to 750. So it's
An event or
it's up to 750 event. So
an event. So,
So
but you could have,
pizza party,
you
something.
could have a half a dozen events, so a dozen events.
I don't expect that. In my past practice, in my prior town, don't expect
Okay,
that.
well, that's my concern. And if there's not a line item for it, then we'll really actually never have any idea how much is spent for it.
It's audited.
Correct.
It's
All
audited.
we reported on is.
It's, everything's recorded and everything is audited.
Where does it show up in the audit?
We present an audit to the town every
And
year.
it'll show up this kind, I mean.
All this
way
kind
that
of
we
stuff
can
shows up in the
recognize
audit. Yep.
it. Okay, thank you very much.
And also note that any amendment to any budget has to be posted on the webpage. So that would be after the fact, but it has to be posted so everyone has the ability to review it.
And it's
That's correct.
and it's also in the audit.
Mr. Mayor.
Mentioned amendments. Yes.
Yep.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
Yeah.
This question is for Mary or Chief Wes Smith. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but just casually off the top of your head, approximately how many events did you
I've been
have
here
last year?
22 years and we've had no events. And just this year alone, I've spent over $1,000 out of my pocket getting bagels or donuts when we have training. So
Is that a staff complaint
no.
or the town manager?
No,
I'm kidding.
the only thing we've given some plaques and the town would approve the plaques. But generally, everything in public safety I paid for out of my pocket.
And we thank you for that, Chief.
You're welcome. But that's 22 years, so I want everybody to know that we're not partying on the weekend.
Thank you, Chief.
And if you do, don't forget to invite everybody, especially if you're paying.
Any other audience comments? Okay. Ladies, do we have anybody on there? Emailed questions or anything like that?
Yeah, there's a comment from Victoria Prinzi again. And I think she's referring to what was just spoken about. She said he didn't answer her. Where does it show up as a line item?
Again, it's not something that shows up in a line item if we give out a cup of coffee or a water to someone, or if we have a party for $100 or $200 and we get pizza. It just goes under miscellaneous expenses. It's very immaterial, in my opinion.
Okay. Let's move on to status reports.
We have another audience comment.
Pardon me? Oh, come on up.
Jennifer Chanowski, 7130 Pine Tree Lane. I noticed on the budget, the list of everyone in the government, that Dan Clark is listed as the professional engineer, but I thought, and it also says a consulting engineer, Ingenuity Group, which I thought was our town engineer. Didn't Dan retire?
He has retired as the town manager. He is the town engineer right now. We hired him as the town
Okay. So
engineer.
could you explain to me how that's working?
Working great. He's
I mean,
helping
what
us.
that entails. He's
He's,
still an employee of the town,
yes,
so he's getting paid a salary and benefits, or
he is.
after his retirement?
He is retired from the town manager and now he's the engineer.
Oh, okay, so how long will he be our engineer?
As long as we can have him. He's worth every penny we can get. But he's going to stay as an employee as of September 30th. And after September 30th, we might hire him as a consultant.
Okay, and what kind of projects is he working on?
All kind of projects that we need engineering help.
Sewer?
Yes.
Septic to
Sewer,
So that's still like
septic to
full-
sewer.
That's still like full bore, eye on the prize?
Yeah.
Subject to sewer? There's no idea that you might not be full bore making the septic to sewer happen?
No, we're not doing the septic. It's not happening, but the current guidance is we're planning it.
Yeah.
So we're still doing the design. We have Micah West that's fully designed,
Mhm.
Micah East, and all the east side of that is not totally designed yet. It's a vacuum system. So that's the part we're working on.
Okay, so Dan's still on as an employee till at least September 30th, but then you're going to probably keep him on longer. So
Yeah.
do we need to have Ingenuity as a consulting engineer as well? Because weren't they
We're trying to,
yeah.
yes, yes,
You need 2 engineers for the town?
we have many engineers. We have more than 2.
Is there something differentiated between like Ingenuity and then 8? Excuse me, what is 8?
There's structural engineers, there's civil engineers, there's electrical engineers, there's structural engineers. There's so many different engineers. And Dan is a really smart engineer. So he's worth what we're paying him.
Okay, what are we paying him?
His rate, $80-something an hour, which is a lot less than any other engineer out there.
Oh, you're paying him $80 an hour.
$80-something an hour.
Oh, so he's not like an employee with a full salary and full benefits. I thought you said that.
He's not getting all his benefits. All of his benefits will go away September 30th because he's still an employee till September
That's the
30th.
employee part. I gotcha.
Yes,
Okay, sorry, I don't understand all this.
no problem.
Okay, so how did that come about where it's not something that's discussed publicly? Like I thought this was for public procedure and then I just noticed the administrative staff note and all that. So it's like a done.
It's part of, I'm managing the town. I sent them an email of my plan and and I outlined my plan.
Mhm.
So they know.
Oh, so is it just, if you tell them everything, it's fine? You don't have to have like the public meeting?
Not for everything that goes on in the town, no.
Yeah.
But I did outline a plan, sent them a memo, and they all know it.
Okay. Okay, all right, that's interesting. I didn't know. So, okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, we're done with audience comments. Everybody's good? Good? Good. Okay. Let's move on to the status reports. Chief? You got anything for us today?
We got
We-
2 months reports.
Yep.
They're attached. If you'd like me to highlight a few things, I'll be more than happy to.
Do we have any questions for the chief? No questions? You're good to go. You've been communicating well and busy. Yes. Chief, you've got the
Evening.
floor.
Tracy Adams, Palm Beach County Fire Rescue District Chief. Thank you for having me, having you serve the area. I know that we didn't have council meeting last month, so it's nice to see everybody back here happy and healthy and safe. I had a battalion chief with me here today. Unfortunately, he had to leave. He just wanted to make an introduction. His name is Donnie Thomas, and he's new to this area as of January to our battalion. We are very fortunate to have him in our battalion. He comes with a very experienced background in special operations. As we know, Palm Beach County Fire Rescue is an all hazardous department. We mitigate all different type of emergencies, from high angle rescue to water rescue to hazardous material rescue. And those men and women that serve in that special operations division have additional certification. So we're very fortunate to have him. Comes with a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience. He was newly promoted back in January and came to us. So he's the chief that's here 24 hours. I get to go home at the end of the day. He stays over the fire station and the one that goes and mitigates all the emergencies. So I'm going to try to bring a little bit more of the battalion chiefs. You have 3 in this area. They rotate shifts. 24-hour shifts, A shift, B shift, C shift, and then they start over again. So I'll try to make those introductions so you know who those men and women here are serving and are here and performing the operations of all the emergencies that occur in your particular area. As far as this month, we ran 18 calls in your area, 11 of them being medical and 6 of them fire alarms, 1 motor vehicle accident. Last month, we had about 21 calls as well. And the month before that, I just checked again, 19. And so just kind of rolling along around that in that 20 number. We are very excited to say, and I know I've announced this before, that we will be getting a Bravo truck in one of our stations. So ourself and Station 91, which is in the Lake Worth area, and you do have some stations in Lake Worth that serve your area, have Station 93, which comes in off of 17th Street, and then you have Palm Springs that comes in from Station 39. So we're very fortunate that they are getting a Bravo truck in Lake Worth, and then we are getting one at Station 33, which is on Kirk Road, within a few months as well. What does that mean? That means that there's an additional rescue at that station to help serve the community. How do we get a Bravo truck? Well, first of all, the county administration, county administrator Virginia Baker needs to approve all the budgeting that goes behind that, and we need to have the numbers there. When you say yes, that station runs over 5,000 calls a year. That station transports so many patients. There's about 5 different criteria. I'm fortunate that I get to serve on the staffing committee, so I get to really be able to study all these numbers. But we're really excited at Station 33 to be getting that additional rescue there. So that particular station will have an engine and 2 rescue trucks that will be servicing out of that station. So that's pretty big news. We're super excited. I'm trying to be quick. I'm sorry. I just want to let you know, a couple months ago, the Palm Beach Medical Society awarded Palm Beach County Fire Rescue with the Heroes in Medicine Award. And that stems from that whole blood project that I told you guys that we started about 9 months ago. We were very fortunate that our area and the Trauma Hawk, our EMS captains, were given whole blood to be given in the field. And that's what trauma people need. When trauma patients lose volumes of blood, they don't just need normal saline, they need whole blood. So whole blood was given approximately 48 times at fire rescue and known to be successful within the patient's outcomes. So we were awarded that Heroes in Medicine Award. So that was pretty big award. One of the other lieutenants that serves your area, Lieutenant Christopher Lowe, had several nominations put in to the EMS Providers Association. EMS Providers Association is an association comprised of medical directors at different fire rescues, medical directors in the hospital CEOs and staff. And he was also nominated for exceptional service as well. And they had, we had a nice luncheon, and he was given that nomination. So we had a couple cool rescues that I want to tell you guys about that are positive things. We rescued a few different animals a few months ago. We actually cut a very small 3-week-old kitten out of a fireplace. That mother kitty, I guess, had the baby kitties up in the attic at someone's house. Baby kitty fell through in the between the flume and the brick wall and was in there. And we went in with one of our canine saws and went ahead and cut out of the fireplace, out of the brick fireplace, this little tiny little itty bitty, eyes still closed, and a little white tip, and she was still kind of stumbling around. So now she lives at the Adams household, and her name's Tipsy. So if you ever have any kind of pathetic needs for an animal, you just call me. We've taken several. We rescued another one a few months ago that PBSO rescued off a canal bank. So we have that one was named Toasty. So we have Tipsy and Toasty at the Adams residence. The other pretty cool animal rescue we had was out of a sink. We had a baby bulldog, a little French bulldog that was being bathed in the sink, and his arm, I guess, fell deep in there. And they literally had to call special operations to come with special tools to cut out the piping around this bulldog's arm to be able to get this puppy out of that situation. It took over about an hour, but that's what we do. We mitigate all emergencies. So those are kind of fun things. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit uplifting stories. And if you're on social media, friend Palm Beach County Fire Rescue, because we have a great PIO and video department that captures these moments on a daily basis and puts out these, so you can be able to see these and get these. The only other thing I could say is that we just graduated class 88 with 38 recruits, one of the biggest ever. And just so you guys get an idea of how much growth we've had, I was class 26 and now we're at 88. And I will have 25 years on the job November 16th. So that's how many classes that have gone through in the past 25 years. Over 50% of our force now is a younger generation now, but we had 38 of them. The video of their recruit class graduation is so impressive. It's about 6 minutes long. I'm going to send it to Joe, and Joe can disseminate it. He can play it next meeting or just give it to the council, but it's pretty impressive. You can also find it on Facebook and I believe on YouTube. And it does show what these 38 recruits, the grueling 12 weeks that they had. But if you watch it, you'll feel pretty impressed and pretty comfortable of all the swim training, beach training, all the active shooter training, the EMS training, the fire training, everything they do for over 12 weeks. So when they get out there, they're ready to serve this community. It's very impressive and it makes me really proud. Other than that, we just opened up our hire again because we need to hire like 160 some odd people. So we just opened it up for 2 days, and I think we had, oh, please don't quote me, it's like over 600 applicants or so over those couple of days. So now we start the process. 1 year we had the convention center where we opened it up. We have almost like a civil service exam, and then after that they go through an interview process, and after that background checks, and then after that they get hired. They go through an extensive recruit class. So we are super excited about our hiring process. Other than that, unless anybody has any questions, thank you very much for having me, and I hope everyone has a safe evening.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank
you. Thank you, Chief. I didn't realize you guys were in demolition work.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, it's kind of funny that you say that because we have K12 saws, which are big saws for cutting holes in the roof. Well, we got K9 saws, which is a smaller version, and I was kind of a pioneer in this area to get them on the rescue trucks, because if you have to force entry into somebody's house, someone has a medical alarm, somebody's passed out, you get in. Well, the tools that we were using were causing damage, and then you know, a lot more damage than just using a little K9 that's. So I have to sign and read these property damage reports. So I was like so impressed at the limited damage that is done from a K9 saw rather than a K12 saw, that now the department is enacting that throughout all the rescue trucks. So it's pretty cool.
Nice. Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Troy?
My report is included in your agenda. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Scheck? No?
Good to go.
Okay, Mr. LaBella.
My report's in there, just a couple dates. Next meeting is August 8th. Obviously, we went over the September meetings, the 12th and the 27th, the Wednesday. We're having a movie night on August 18th. Lake cleanup on the 23rd. It's hurricane preparedness, talking about that, staff's meeting on that. You all should have a plan. We're getting into the height next month. The height of hurricane season is the end of August, early September. Just something to think about. Category 4 is actually 250 times more damaging than a Category 3. It doesn't double. It's an exponential. So just think about that. And actually a Category 5 is 500 times more than a Category 4 in damage. So it's serious. So you should have a plan. You should prepare. And if you need any help, give me a holler.
Is the movie night going to be in here?
It's in the pavilion.
In the pavilion?
Yes.
All right. Any questions for Mr. LaBella? No? Okay. We'll move on to council comments. Mr. Shahoob, you're up first.
Chief,
Yes, sir.
over 600, almost 700 citations. Keep up the good work over 2 months. Just keep on doing it. Traffic safety is very much appreciated by all of our neighbors here, and just keep on doing a good job. Also, I think there was an excess of 250 code violations, and I think that's a good, they complained to us saying that we need more code enforcement. And then when you enforce the code, then they start complaining, why me? Well, just remember that philosophy of a velvet covered hammer, I think would go a long way, and have your code guy to get out of the car and knock on the door and talk to the residents to get to know who they are, because a lot of them don't know that Dana passed the baton. So on a whole, thank you very much, Chief. Give my best to all of the police officers who are doing such a good job. Charlie, take a look at this rental, vacation rental that we just passed. If you take a look at it, it makes reference to section 125. I believe it's 1100. Draw your attention to page 4 of 5 of the vacation rental registration form. It makes reference to section 125, 1100 of the town code of ordinances. I'd like to see what that looks like because it's not in the book. Okay. Next, I want to see what we can do about addressing the code violations for the short-term rentals. In my discussions with Mr. Labello, I wanted to see what can be done with regard to a stepladder approach on repeat violations, and quite possibly make sure that the code enforcement people appreciate, again, the velvet covered hammer approach, but quite possibly the ultimate sanction. I don't know whether it's legal or not. That's why we have you. Maybe if there's enough repeat violations to where it becomes habitual, can there be a revocation of the license? I talked to Joe about seeing if there's a decibel meter application to where if the residents of the unit trigger the decibel reading, that it automatically goes to the is reported to the town or the police department. So I think that's an open issue that needs to be properly vetted. So I appreciate your looking into that for us, Charlie, please. Thank you. And I think everybody's done a good job. I don't know whether or not we addressed the budget for the CRA, but I wanted to make sure that everyone has a good appreciation of our budget that Joe worked so diligently on. And I want to say thank you very much for doing that, meeting with me, and I know meeting with all of the other members of council. I know that we spent close to 2 hours doing that, and
Thank you.
it was good to listen to you and to understand how you get from point A to point B. So I appreciate that very, very much.
Thank you.
Still not sold on the proposed budget. I did talk to Joe about going to rollback, and if we can't, rollback's going to cost us about $200,000. Where can we make those adjustments? So that's an open issue that will be vetted in the weeks and months to come. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it.
Mr. Rodriguez, you're up.
Thank you. Well, I'll echo what Bob just said. I think we should consider rollback, or at least look to see if there are options where we can somehow pass benefits on if it's possible. The traffic issue, I think on Forest Hill is horrendous. Being that Florida Mango is now closed, for us, we need to use Westlake to turn there at busy traffic hours. It gets backed up so that you're stuck in a traffic lane in order to make the left-hand turn. And quite frankly, I'm really concerned that people who are traveling westbound aren't paying attention. The traffic's completely stopped. But there's some kind of phenomena going on between our road and 10th Avenue North. And with 6th Avenue South being closed going westbound, it's horrendous. Last night, I'm trying to make it home at 7, and there was a 4-mile backlog to exit 10th Avenue North. And it wasn't an accident.
Lights were out.
No, it was not an accident. No lights were out. It was a massive amount of traffic that was exiting to avoid 6th Avenue Southwest, avoiding Forest Hill. And it just created, it was unbelievable what was happening. The only reason I say that is I asked the officers to just please be careful watching when you're out there. There are accidents bound to occur. Turning left into Pine Tree, turning left into Pine Tree seems to be very dangerous too, because I feel like we have drivers who aren't paying attention, who are driving eastbound. And they come around a corner, and it's sort of like a corner they can't quite see. And you're almost like taking your life into your hands if you're pulling out. That also happens turning on the Westlake, because if a big truck gets stuck in the turning lane, how are you to see who's in the third lane? You can't see that. You could see who's in the second and first lane, but in the third lane, you're like really guessing if you pull out there whether a car's coming. I don't know. I just feel like there's got to be some kind of creative solution to fixing our traffic problem, just trying to get into our town. I just don't want to see people die, going in and out of traffic.
Is there traffic calming?
Something Joe, if you could just get out there and experience like we do coming home every day, I think you would get a better appreciation of what we're all dealing with.
Okay.
You drive Forest Hill every day, don't you?
I go west.
He goes
It's
west.
still
Yeah.
5
He
o'clock
can
west.
get out of here and go west. It's the problem coming west from I-95. So I really want to push for that. I want to push for getting our medians looking nicer, and a sign or banner or something that just makes it take pride in our town. I'd like to see the entrance to Arabian get done sooner than quicker, because it looks like we're going to wait possibly for the county to get us some information, but the county hasn't even told us when they're going to finish Florida Mango. How long has that been? 9 months? 9 months of our town being inundated with traffic. Waiting for the county to tell us anything is, I think, just a dead end. I'd like to see that sign get fixed, just because it is an important entrance. If we can find a way, an economical way, and obviously whoever did it has to pay us for it anyway, right? Through subrogation.
Yes.
So we're going to get paid to have it done. So we just need to get it done. It was an accident there. And it might be a time to really clean it up and make it look nice. Those are just my comments. Thank you. I'm about to say Dan.
You can call me Dan.
I can call you Dan, but I can't call you. Thank you, Joe.
Late for dinner?
You're welcome.
But thank you for the great presentation on budget.
Thank you.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Me, Mr. Gonzalez.
I mean Gonzalez,
Called
I'm
him
sorry.
that twice tonight.
Did I? Well, you guys are sitting next.
That's
to
okay,
me.
Mr. Freehold. Just wanted to echo the, and we're just playing around. I wanted to echo, obviously, your tremendous efforts, Joe, with everything and really getting up to speed with our town and the amount of time that you've really devoted into just literally jumping into the deep end, and taking all of our issues and making them your own, and really embracing us, embracing everybody here. So thank you. And I'm very excited to see what your vision, what it's going to pan out. We hope that we can make something that's going to be suitable for everybody, that's going to improve property values, improve our way of life, and really make us the gem of Palm Beach County that we all keep saying over and over and over again. One of my concerns that I learned, while being up on the dais here, we're part of Florida League of Cities, and one of the things that you notice is that lots of the, our town, or our county, I should say, is a bit fragmented. You've got a lot of investment into Boca and Delray, and then you've got a lot on the north end, and somehow, central Palm Beach County has been missed. Obviously, there's tons of development post-COVID in downtown West Palm, and lots of investment there. But they, city leaders or county leaders have been looking at Green Acres and Palm Springs for, workforce housing. That's kind of the buzzword, affordable workforce housing. So I just want to make sure that we're doing right by our residents. We're doing right by kind of our master plan, our forward 30, 40, 50 year plan looking forward, and what is Lake Clark Shores in the future. So excited to hear more on that. Happy belated 4th of July. As is Lake Clark Shores fashion, everybody has a fantastic time. I'm glad that I didn't hear anything that anybody got hurt. I didn't hear of any injuries, so that's a big win. Nobody was shooting off fireworks from their cars like in Miami. I don't know if anybody saw that on the news. And wanted to say thank you to Joe George. He's got right off a Pine Tree there. He put, I think, 2 or 3 different barges with a whole fireworks show. And that's 100% resident led. And it's just beautiful.
It's all for agricultural purposes. Just remember that.
It's agricultural purposes. Right. Correct. And right. Anyways. We briefly touched on safety and kind of the medians, and growing up in the body shop business and then later becoming an attorney and an advocate for those that are injured. I'm all about that. I'm representing one of our residents now that was involved in a crash on Forest Hill and Pine Tree, and it's really sad that that happens, and it's a very, very dangerous intersection sometimes. And I forget who said it. I don't know if it was Mr. Rodriguez or Mr. Freehold. That when you're crossing Forest Hill, just make sure that third lane is clear, and just people that aren't residents, maybe some residents, are just speeding right past that light. So just be cautious. Hey Tim, I wanted to say, I think that some of our residents are doing this. What I'm holding up, and for those of you that are online that can't see, is the Southern California, they've got grants and things that encourage their residents to remove some of their landscape, either water dependent lawns, for some native, in this case, Florida shrubbery or bushes, things that are drought tolerant. Yeah, I'm no one can hear you online, but what you're saying is you've let your grass grow very high, and you got lots of butterflies now. And I think that's beautiful. I think there's several residents that have opted to go for a natural look. And there's somebody on Beta that, and actually Mike Fritz has done some artificial turf. So it looks really nice, and it's nice to see people really caring about their homes. So thanks to everybody that has come out, and thank you for sharing your opinions, your concerns, and your comments. I hope you all have a wonderful night.
Mr. Maples?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, appreciate all of you coming tonight and sharing your opinions and caring about this town. It's always great to see everyone. Mr. Lobello, thank you for your commitment for this budget and everything that you're doing, the town's doing. Also, super excited about the electronic permitting the town is implementing here soon. So obviously we got to work out some kinks whenever you go to electronics, but hopefully that will expedite that process and make it a little more seamless for the residents and be able to use that. Personally, I did do some training with the Florida League of Cities this past month for a couple days, 2 days getting geared up to be a better elected official and better serve this town. So I learned a lot. So that was exciting to get the opportunity to kind of dive in and learn a little bit about that. Also, I've been talking to some residents, and we've got some older residents who've lost loved ones. And so we do invest a lot of money with the kids doing the fishing and all these different things. And so if there's some residents who are willing to step up and be a part of a strategy, maybe for like a bingo night for some of the older residents in our community who don't get out of the house much, maybe have something to do where they can come once a month and play bingo for a bit. I talked to Joe a little bit about it. Little, limited resource from the town, but if we can, as a community, can maybe help that group. So if anybody's interested in that, reach out. The other thing is, as police department's doing a fantastic job with making sure the town looks good and code enforcement, maybe even potentially set up a little committee where once a month we go out and help those who are some of our older folks in our town who can't get out and maybe redo their pressure washer driveway or whatever it is. Maybe some of us get together once a month or once every couple of months. Maybe some legality issues that Mr. Scheck's not happy about going on people's property and pressure washing, but just an opportunity to help some of our residents be a better community, be a better neighbor. So just something that I've been thinking about, talking to Joe about and other residents, just trying to see how we as a community can help one another and serve one another and, keep this gym a gym and continue to make it feel like home for all of us. So thank you guys. Thank you for coming out. Thank you, this council. Appreciate each one of you guys. So that's my comment.
Thank you.
Louise, I saw a nice piece about you in the outreach program that you are involved in. So you can relate. You were on the news. Do you remember that? Yes. No, I saw it too. I'm paying attention. But I do agree with you there, Mr. Maples, for sure. And I've been trying to do that since I got on council a long time ago, which leads me to tell you how I met Helen Brunson. I was out looking for ways to improve things, get involved more into the community and do that. I was instructed by Ashok Kulkarni to go visit her, and I did. And she was not a big fan in the beginning, but I won her over. And I want to tell you a funny little story about her coming to Lake Clark Shores. She lived in Louisville, Nebraska, tiny little town you blow through, no traffic lights, no anything. Her husband's family was retiring. They owned a pottery business. None of the family wanted the business. They're moving to Florida. She did not want to live here at all. She did not want to come to Florida. So she was the advanced person, comes down, finds 5 or 6 houses for her husband to look at when he gets here. And 8410 Westlake Drive is the first house she takes him to. And he says, I'll take it. This is where we're moving. She goes, well, I have 4 or 5 others for you to see. He goes, no, this place is beautiful. We'll take it. And back then, the houses were still on well water. They had well water, if you can believe that. And there still are 2 homes in Lake Clark Shores that have well water. So she was a good soul. She's going to be missed. She was very friendly to the town. She participated in the bass fishing tournament. She donated. She volunteered her time. She volunteered her time to the barbecue. She, for 89 years old, I mean, that's kind of when she really came into her prime, it seemed. And she was a few months short of 98. So the town lost a good resident there. She took pride in taking care of her house. She actually would get into the lake and pull the hyacinth out by hand. I'm like, are you crazy? She's doing this in her 80s, pulling the hyacinth by hand. She put her ladder, this rickety old ladder, and climbed down into the lake and just for hours, just walked through there and pulled the hyacinth out. She did not like the weed spraying because she was an avid bass fisherman, and she goes, women aren't supposed to fish. And I said, they're not? She goes, well, not in my generation. I said, well, women fish. It's a good thing. Let's fish. So that's my story about Helen. thank you, everybody, for coming. Gabe, congratulations. I'll be looking forward to watch the progress. I know the budget's a work in process. There's a lot of deferred maintenance here. I think we all have fixed incomes at the end of the day. Everybody's got a fixed income. We work really hard. Joe works really hard to work this out, to make things all right. I had a brief discussion with him about the contingency fund. Look where it's come from to where it was. Is that crazy? That's what's going on here. I wish we had something better to do with the traffic. The traffic is driving me crazy. It's impossible. I come home sometimes and I don't drive for 3 days. I don't want to drive. I don't want to get out there. I live in our own little world here in Lake Clark Shores. I walk around, I ride a bike, I do whatever. The driving is insane. The people are insane. There's distracted drivers. They're not paying attention for sure. They're running red lights like you can't imagine. And I drive a lot. I mean, I probably log, I probably log 750 to 1,000 miles a week driving all over Tri-County area and all that kind of stuff. So we have our work cut out for us. I'm convinced that we will have and continue to have small, steady steps in our progress to make everything better and the best it can be, because we do have a gem here, and we all, the residents, the council, the staff, the police department, are working to do that. So as I've been doing, I'll leave you with this. This is for the people and the residents. People will forget what you said. They'll forget what you did, but they'll never forget the way that you make them feel.
Amen.
Have a good evening, everybody. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Hold on.
That's okay. That's fine. Joe, Senate Bill 250. Joe, Senate Bill 250, I want to know how it's going to affect Lake Clark Shores. This is for the temporary structures once there's been a declaration of emergency. I'm sure you're familiar with it.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
We just don't want a mobile home or a RV put up on your property if it's been damaged.
Right.
So that Senate bill preempts a lot of Florida, a lot of local municipalities' home rule. Thank you very much, Joe.
Thank you.
Are you-
Have a good evening, everyone.
Had to be within the